Welcome from wherever you're watching us from. It's a pleasure to have you on board on this training, Advanced Writing and Teaching Workshop for Ministers. Please be rest assured that whatsoever be the reason, the motivation for you joining us for this particular training, at the end of this training, you will testify. God will intend to pass across to you information that will, in measurable terms, in tangible terms, make you become much more effective as a writer and also much more effective as a teacher of God's anointed word. Today is day one, and I'd like us to begin by examining the preambles of this particular training. Specifically, we are looking at some objectives of this training. What are the things that this particular training is meant to accomplish in the ministry of every participant? Specifically, we're looking at three things. The first one, we intend to help ministers originate novel and beneficial ideas. When we use the word novel, we're looking at something that we may call new. Novel is an information, a body of knowledge that is not so commonplace. All right? The fact of the matter is that in the heart of seasoned ministers, there are a number of information. And what we are going to be doing in this particular training will be to give them some reasoning principles that they can use to interrogate their body knowledge and extract from that knowledge, extract from their experiences, information that is novel in largely now, and engage same in blessing the people. Oh, by the way, we're looking at ideas that are not just novel, but they must be ideas that can be of benefit to readers, to audience when you have speaking engagements. Now, the second intent or objective of our training is the organization of ideas. This is very, very important, particularly as it concerns both writing and speaking, the organization of ideas. Let me break down to us why this is very, very important. God has configured the human mind in such a way that the mind retains information that is presented to it logically. When information is presented to the mind haphazardly, what happens is that man is not able to adequately store that information. Talk less of now being able to effectively recall it. All right? The way the human mind has been configured by God is for it to store information that is presented to it logically, and of course, to recall such information in that particular logical format. But for us to better understand this, let's define intelligence. What exactly is intelligence? When we say an individual is intelligent, what do we mean? Intelligence can be defined as the capacity to receive, retain, recall, and reason with knowledge or information. Now, a critical aspect of this definition has to do with the capacity of a man to retain information. And your capacity to retain the information you receive can be greatly enhanced when you recognize that your mind has to take in this information in a logical format. It must be organized. To prove this point to us, let me ask a question. Let me ask you to do this at home. Can you call your number, your phone number, starting from the last number speedily for me? I know if I ask you to start from the first number, okay, let me do it this particular way. My own phone number. My number is 08038395927. I can call that number for you at any point in time, whether it's midnight, 4 a.m., afternoon, whatsoever the time is. All right? But if I am to give you that same number, starting from the last number, I will find it difficult. I'm calling the same number for you, but now I'm starting from the last number. And the reason why I will have it difficult will be because I didn't store that particular number, my phone number, in the format you are asking me to recall it. So it is difficult. And so when we recognize this peculiar quality of the mind, it now becomes important, imperative for we as speakers, we as writers, to ensure that our body of knowledge is organized, that our ideas are organized, and then we are presenting these ideas precept upon precept. That particular way, our hearers, our readers will be able to store this information in their mind and, of course, recall it when necessary. The truth is, you can't reason with information, you can't apply an information that you cannot recall. That's why the capacity of the human mind, or rather the capacity of an individual to recall ideas from his mind, from his memory, is very, very important. This is the second point why we are here. The third one has to do with the expression and communication of these ideas, these organized ideas. Now, please appreciate this. There's a distinction between expression and communication by a writer, okay, or by a deep thinker. Now, when it comes to expression, it has to do with an individual. We can define expression as intrapersonal communication. A man who is going to express himself thoroughly, effectively, must have the capacity to interrogate his thoughts, organize his thoughts. It is actually about intrapersonal communication. It is you reviewing the ideas that are in your heart, and of course, organizing them such that you are able to articulate them. But here is the challenge. That you are able to express yourself effectively does not mean that you have actually communicated. Here's one of the major distinctions between expression and communication. Expression is intrapersonal, it involves one individual, while communication involves at least two persons. So, in communication, you're going to have the sender of the information as well as the receiver or the recipient of the information. So, what is required in expression in the main is about vocabulary. Okay? If you, as an individual, you have adequate store of words, you can look inwards and extract subtle meanings from the various ideas that God has loaded you with. But on the contrary, when it comes to communication, the two parties involved, the sender of the information as well as the receiver of the information, must be fluent in the language they are engaging in communicating. So, in the main, a writer has to be, first of all, a good expressionist. He must be able to express himself. Okay? He has to do this for him to really know to the extent to which he understands his subjects. But at the same time, having succeeded in expressing himself, he needs to also ensure that he understands the principles of communication, that he may be able to effectively transfer information that's in his heart to his readers or to his audience. I believe with all of this I've said, you have seen the distinctions between communication and expression. In the main, expression involves one individual, while communication involves at least two individuals. Now, today is day one, and we're going to be looking at three different subjects. Okay, three different subjects. Let's begin with the first one, which is choosing your subject. Choosing your subject. Now, the first thing we need to examine under choosing your subject is the criteria. What criteria should influence your choice of subject? You don't just pick up any kind of subject to write on. Okay? We expect you to make certain informed decisions about the subject you should embrace, the subject you should speak on, the subject you should write on. And right now, I want to give you certain criteria. I want to make available to you certain criteria that the subject you choose, the subject you decide to choose to write on or to speak on must fulfill. Now let's look at them. The first one is you understanding, having an insightful understanding of the subject. You only choose a subject to speak on, a subject to write on that you have adequate understanding of. This is very important because you can be taken up, you can be interrogated, and it will not be right having picked up a particular subject. You don't have adequate understanding of it, and then your audience interrogates you and you're unable to defend the things that you have said or you have written. So, three questions we should ask when it comes to understanding the subject. One of them is, how deep are your convictions about the content of the subject? This is very important. How deep are your convictions about this particular subject? Convictions are very key. And the convictions will come from you researching, from you meditating, and having understanding of this particular subject from multiple perspectives, such that the questions people are going to ask you, you already have answers to them because you have already evaluated them beforehand. Okay? And in the process of that evaluation comes conviction. Conviction should come from you having insightful understanding of your subject. Then again, in line with understanding the subject, you must be able to defend your convictions. It is the understanding of the subject that helps you to defend it. You believe in the subject? Yes. But it's not enough to believe in it, you know. And besides, your believing in the subject should come from reasons, from information. And that should influence your capacity to defend that particular conviction that you have in the content of the subject. Then this is very, very important. Talking about you understanding the subject is how passionate are you about that particular subject. If you're very passionate about a particular subject, you're going to find out that you want to work, towards unearthing every aspect of that particular subject. You do everything within your power to study, to investigate as much as possible that particular subject. You have energy to do this, and that energy will come from passion. So if you're not passionate about a particular subject, please don't bother to work on it. Any subject you're going to work on, you must be adequately passionate about. Okay? And so you may need to ask yourself, why choosing a subject? How passionate am I about this particular subject? Now, talking about choosing your subject, the second thing that we need to appreciate is who will benefit from this particular subject. This unique insight that we have about this particular subject matter, who is going to benefit from it? All right? What is it going to benefit from for them? What is the sort of benefits that my content has for my target audience, for my target readers? This is very, very important. And please, you have to be very, very specific. Now, if you define this before you begin to speak or write, you will be able to tell after writing, after speaking, the extent to which you have succeeded in helping your audience. Yes, because that's the criteria you can use to measure the quality of job that you have done, the criteria you use in measuring how successful you have been as a writer and as a speaker. So the second thing that will help you choose your subject, second criteria you should consider why choose your subject, is looking at the benefits that you are going to be offering your target audience. Okay? All right. So we said here, be very, very specific. Now, let's talk about the part 2 of it.